Hey, what's up, people? This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Beach Volleyball National Events. Beach Volleyball National Events is the greatest get noticed showcase in the United States of America. Right now, we're in Colorado, we're in Texas, we're in Florida, we were in New Jersey a month ago. And if you want your kid to get noticed, tell your mother, tell your father, send a telegram. Get with your club coach. Beach Volleyball National Events, BVNE. Come play with us. It's also brought to you by NY Varsity Sports. That's me. That's me, the NYV. This is episode 54. I got Danny Moy, and this episode starts right now. Well, we stumbled into the block, but you know what? I always land on my feet because with this guy, my next guest, I've got to give the people what they want. Dun, 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 dun. Danny Moy, what's up, man?
What's up, JJ?
Cool.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm gonna give people a little education on who you are. Danny Moy is the president. I mistakenly characterized him as the founder of Strangers Volleyball, which is Chinese 9-man, and he's one of the guys who's been playing for a long time, cemented his legacy. He's got hoes in different area codes. This is Danny Moy. What's up, man? I'm so glad to have you on the show. It is my honor, my duty, and my privilege. And I'm gonna make sure I share this on my Facebook thing for the people who are looking for my name.
Definitely.
So Danny, let's start right out of the block. Let's talk about 9-man. Describe to my audience in California, who should know better, what 9-man is.
Oh, man, where do I start? I mean, 9-man is similar to 6-man volleyball with just extra 3 players. Front row will stay front row, so offense will play offense. Back row will rotate serving between 3 servers. And you just play regular 9-man with a court 3 feet bigger all around. No jump serving, no piking allowed. You can hook the ball. I'm sure, if you take a peek on YouTube, there is videos with 9-man tournaments.
Yeah.
And pretty much you can use the hand. You could, power dink or dunk. I'm sure you've seen a few clips. And it's been a tradition we've been running in North America for almost 75 years. 75 years. This year would have been 76 in DC, but due to the circumstance of COVID, we had to cancel it for the better for everyone. It's really fast-paced game. You'll get really into it. Like if you see in some videos, and I know once you start playing, it gets competitive. It's fun. It's everybody just really gets into it, and it's only on the men's side. The women's play 6s during our tournament. And people get creative. Some people run a double one, back one and front one.
Yeah, shotgun, pump shotgun.
Yeah. 31s. You can have a 6-man up and the 3-man back if your defense is solid, and if your back row is solid, then you have a 5-man up. And the circle's small, so a lot of people play 9-man will play 6s too. So, and I'm sure a lot of the players who play 9-man too. And some has gone your way, which you have introduced 9-man to our circle too. So
actually, let's give them a picture of what five front row blockers looks like. This is a couple of years ago. This is a smash against Connex.
Right.
Let's rock this. Let's run this. Let's see what this looks like. That was awesome. Did you just see that?
Yeah. So you could play off the net. The net is like a neutral hit.
Yeah.
And once you hit the net, you have an opportunity to play another play. Like you'll get another touch.
Yeah, no doubt.
And handshaking after the game for respect, before and after, and congratulations.
That's the other Justin.
This was the finals.
Yeah, that was actually match point.
Right.
Yeah, like
so. This was San Francisco Smash versus Toronto Connex.
Yep, that's exactly what that was.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what that was. In fact,
it was good times. Yeah, it was in LA actually, Anaheim. what was that gym that just
Anaheim Sports Center, they just shut down.
yeah, they just shut down. Sad to hear.
Yeah, big blow to the South Bay region because it was a high percentage, more than 50% of the tournaments for club volleyball for boys and girls. SCVA is its own league, but it's part of USA Juniors or whatever. And between that, the Misty May Arena and Anaheim Convention Center, which is actually gorgeous. Yeah, I didn't like Anaheim Sports Center that much, and so I'm not one of those people that are gonna miss it. I guess because I haven't been out here as long as them. I mean, if you think about it, like the parents out here, there's a culture. They play competitive high school volleyball out here. They go to the D1 programs out here, and then their kids grow up, and then they play competitive high school volleyball, and of course competitive club volleyball, and the cycle just continues. It's a cyclical thing. If you've never left the South Bay, and you're a kid, you would assume volleyball is the number one sport in America, right? Like, Danny, it's like being in Chinatown. You would think like 9-man is like the number one or number two sport in America. It's street ball, right? Street basketball street volleyball. Did a little research, Danny. Like, volleyball was created in Massachusetts, but what a lot of people don't know, for the people like, oh my God, how could they have 9 men on the court? Oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, people just want to be renegades to the rules. I would just want to remind everybody that volleyball in its originality was 9 people. Am I right? Coach Donnie, I was watching his documentary, and he said it was originally 9 people.
yeah. There's a 9-man documentary out there by Ursula Niang, and pretty much her documentary really just picked up the sport. The interest sparked a lot of interest from the non-Asian world, and it's growing. I mean, when I first started back in the 90s, playing with you, and that's when pretty much I started my 9-man career, is in high school and college, is that the tournament itself was only like 20 teams, and we've sixfold into last year in Montreal. We had, I think, 140.
Yeah.
So the tournament itself has grown a lot, and the interest has like really grown big to a point where we don't know how to control it.
I mean, generally, the reason why I never liked American Sports Center is because acoustically, like because there were so many people and because of the noise, you have to wear like earplugs. You come out of there having like volleyball PTSD, everything, you think it's a ball. Every sound you hear, you think is a ball. So you take that and you multiply it by 2 or 2.5. That's what 9-man was, because it wasn't 6s. So it was. I really love the crowd too. I mean, you have the finals, and I thought Chinese 9-man. I thought they did a really good job, the best they could, making it look like the outdoor scene. Like if you look at the finals. The way and the number of people that surrounded the court, you couldn't even see the floor anymore. You couldn't see surface. All you could see was people, and you could see like a net, and you could see a whole bunch of people in the middle, like in this rectangle. For my people in the South Bay, I bring you something called Manhattan Sixes. Manhattan Sixes is in July or the first week of August, where just, I guess, all the indoor and beach players get together, and they wear these costumes and they represent these teams, and it looks like a big party until, of course, the semis and finals, because the people that come there, to me, if you're going there to be serious, you're kind of an idiot. But I guess sooner or later, when someone tells you, Danny, come play, it'll be fun, at some point you're like, don't lie, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be competitive. So Manhattan Beach Sixes is, you don't see the sand. Like by the time the semis or finals come, you just see a zombie apocalypse of people, and you see the court. And that's it. And I'm like, wow. Anyone has to pursue a ball, man. It's gonna be a stage. They can just kind of catch them like a state, like a mosh pit,
Yeah,
stage.
jump into the audience, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So Danny, what got you into volleyball? Is it a family tradition or?
Well, I guess it's back in high school. My gym teacher was like, "You're pretty tall. You play basketball?" I said, "No, not really." "You good at anything?" I go, "Not really. I just didn't have." When you grow up in the village back in the days, the 80s, the village itself was pretty rough. You had to, can't.
It was.
The
Yeah.
drug dealers and, the prostitution and all that. And, so growing up in the village, not like right now, everything is gentrified. Everything is much nicer.
And expensive as hell.
Yeah, so you don't go out much until in high school when you actually really do go to school on your own. We didn't do anything. We didn't go to the park or anything. So my gym teacher, Mr. Unger, Harmon Unger,
Okay.
which I'm sure you
So
probably
glad
heard
you
the
named
name.
him. Yep.
And he was like, "Oh, you're a pretty tall Asian guy. You should play some volleyball." And he just pushed me to play some volleyball. And I first tried out to be a setter because I didn't know how to hit or jump or anything, because all you do is just push the ball, right? Can't go wrong with that, right? Just doing push-ups. And, after that, they saw me, liking it. And, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Unger's wife plays in the Nyman circuit too." And she was like, "Oh, you want to try out?" And that's it. There was no turning back. There was practice at Humanities. That's where I went to high school. Humanities, Bayeux Rustin High School for the Humanities. And that's where everything started. And 6s and 9s were for a while. And this is how many years now? Shoot.
It seems like forever, huh?
Yeah. And met you guys in college. And there's no turning back. Our lives went forward. We've done a lot, and I've done. I kept up with my 9-man circuit, and I stayed in it. Doing tournament hosting and running, the nonprofit now. So it's a passion of mine, and I'm sure it's the same for you too.
No doubt. It's a unique meeting of the minds, because at the time you were coming out of high school. At the time I was actually ending my time in the service, in the military service.
Right.
I played on, I actually played for a military community team, and then later for like the all army team and this and that. So there was Justin Stack, and there was Clement. Oh God, Yip Kwan Lai.
Yip Kwan Lai.
Yep. And Josh Jamrog, I think, was with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both Joshes? No.
Josh Lyons too.
Yeah, that's a good team, man. That's a good high school team.
Although Josh, I think, didn't play with us. He got into it after we graduated. Josh Jamrog, Clement Lai, Justin Stack, all same high school.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Three of you guys ended up going to Hunter College. For the people listening at home, I was at Hunter College for a cup of coffee. I was there for like one pit stop before I went back to school and finished somewhere else. And it was 5 freshman starters. People listening to, I'm going to take you back, because some of these guys are like, "Oh, it's a D3 school, who cares?" I'm going to tell you who cares. It's 1994, and D3, you had to have, just like anyone that's went to UC San Diego or Santa Cruz or any of these D3 programs, Juniata, you have to play Division I and Division II teams twice, because there's an overload of D3 teams now, but they just weren't. There weren't a lot of D3 teams. And for the people that live in the East Coast, reintegrate your brains as well. CUNY only had 4 teams back then, and John Jay, I think, was like a 5th team added. So if you wanted to play college volleyball in New York City, you had to go to one of those 4 schools. So right now CUNY has 10. So I want you to picture in your brain all of these talented people from Chinese 9-man, all of these people that play for their national team for like Haiti or like Jamaica, or like, like a junior national team from Poland. And you take all of these players, and instead of spreading them out to 10 teams, you have to consolidate them into 4. That's a bunch of rock stars, man, and
stacked.
Yeah. And at the time period, I'll name drop Elvis Rodriguez, played there a couple of years before us. So it's our team furnished 4 national championships for USAV. So I actually never went to nationals, but I set for 3 teams that went to nationals. I set for Polam, and they won nationals in '96. I set for Bameso, who won for 2 years, and they won nationals, men's open, for both years. They only lost a set. Justin Stack won nationals. Greg Romulus, the star hitter.
Our Dilo.
Yeah, Dilo.
Right.
He won nationals with Crail, because he's from a volleyball playing family. He had 2 brothers, and he's from Haiti. So back then, Crail was mostly Haitian. They sprinkled a Dominican or two, and maybe Dave Jack, who's Jamaican or whatever, was on that team as well. But Greg and the Fab Five freshmen. Very, very good team, man. Very, very good team, and we busted up a lot of scholarship kids.
We're the loudest, obnoxious team, I guess.
But how good was D3 back then? Vassar College still remains the only Division III team to make the EIVA finals. Mm-hmm. Who did they lose to? They lost to Penn State. How good was Penn State that year? Oh, Penn State won the whole thing. They beat UCLA in 5. So it gives you this degree of how competitive D3 volleyball was. There was a B flight and there was an A flight, and 6 Division III teams. 6 Division III teams were made the EIVA. So that's freaking, for B and A flight. So that is awesome. And JIT. Which was D3 back then. Vassar, of course, won. Juniata, still, I believe, still competitive. New Paltz, Tony Bonilla was the coach. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And his son, 20 years. How's that for a flashback? His son, 20 years later. That was 1994, 2014. His son won an NCAAs. So NYU. So good squad. So at what point in your high school life or college, or was there a particular game or a tournament did you tell yourself, I think I could do this competitively? Was there do you have a memory of a particular tournament or a match? Just like a match where like everybody's high-fiving you is like kind of this defining game and you're like, wait, I think I could do this on a reel.
I don't know. I can't say there is any specific tournaments or game that really kind of outshines any other, because from the beginning I always try to challenge myself, because you're never going to be the best if you don't challenge yourself. Why is that person able to hit over you, or why can't you hit through a person? So have these personal goals where try to find a way to, if I can't hit over them, I try to hit around them, right? But I don't think there was any point in time where I can't think of it. I mean, it's been a lot of years, but there are some tournaments where we came in second, and never top 1. Close, but never any kind of, maybe community finals.
Yeah,
it was good times. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you to really lose a lot, you'll win. You feel like you want to challenge yourself to win more, and if you don't win enough, then you always want to try to get better somehow. And I was always that person that challenged myself, like, how do I get better? And I was never there. I was never satisfied. And then I'm 40 something and I'm still not there. But I think now the goal is to really be humble and happy with what you've done and what we've accomplished through our lives too.
Yeah, there's that, man. I mean, volleyball certainly is a great character builder for real life, right? I think a lot of the discipline from your childhood, the discipline of having to be somewhere on time where everyone has to respect each other's time, the hard work that this collective unit, I mean, besides football, there's no ultimate team game where it takes X amount of people to win. Like, truly, there are some people that can take over a game and they're good for a set or two, but you rarely see one player win a game,
Yeah.
Greg Romulus, we were just talking about Greg, okay, gonna educate some of you people again. Greg still holds the record for most kills in the match. It's 61 kills. It was 61 for 98 attempts, only 5 errors. Those numbers in any sport are sick. Those are middle hitters numbers for volley. Even for middle, those are astronomically ridiculous. And that was a match we lost. We lost to Roger Williams. Lurking variables. Okay, I'm going to stroke my ego. I wasn't there. My mother was like, you show respect, you go to church. So, and it was very weird for me to play an NCAA sport and I mean, usually like a club or a high school, you get yanked out by your mom. I got yanked off that by my mom. And I missed that match. And David May missed that match. So Meng Young May missed that match. So it was Greg. It was really Greg and you guys trying to get some touch blocks, run down the touch block, go to your star hitter on transition.
Yeah, just a go-to guy, right? But we weren't able to do it.
Yeah, but the ultimate team sport, right? So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I have some questions. I was gonna save them for the end, but I'm feeling a little giddy.
It's all right.
Um,
Bring them.
why is nine man played on the street? Why street ball? I think I know the answer to this, but I gotta let you talk at some point. um, Go ahead.
Well, I think, historically when everything began back in, year one of 75, everything was always out on the street.
Yeah.
People, days off working 6 days a week were Sunday and, they play in the park. And from that day on, the first tournament was, I think, like between 4 teams, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Not too sure, but Boston, DC, New York. And, it grew from there. And historically, it's been playing on the street. And just these last 5+ years, and I run the New York Mini Tournament. And I got to say that after 9/11 happened to be today,
Yeah.
Applying for street closure is harder. So the city doesn't really just give you a chance to close any street and run a tournament nowadays. It's a little bit easier back then because of 9/11, street closure was a little tougher. Getting permission was, not as easy as it was. So tournaments now go indoors, and not just on New York, Boston, DC.
Yeah.
They
Toronto.
all lose. Yeah, we all go indoors now because of just the way the game grew. And but historically, traditionally, it's always been outdoors, and there's always a knee breaker because you're playing on concrete, right? So playing in the middle, it's you're jumping for every play, every offense, every defense. Your career is not going to last too long. So now all I do is just hop, as a middle player.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta hop.
yeah.
Yeah, we played a lot of Central Park fours back then as well before
Right.
before the beach courts were in Central Park, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the taller players who knew not to go full bore were the ones that lasted the longest.
Smart.
Yeah, right. Where God, half of us are all broken down right now. So
Well, being young, we're always being stupid and trying to show off and see who can pound the ball the hardest, and that's the young inside, a young kid inside of us, right? But now we're smarter, play wiser, right?
there was also a ton of systemic racism against Asians back in the day as well. To my understanding, according to Coach Donnie, that just I reintegrated myself just on the rules of the game. And somewhere in the middle of this, there was a synopsis of the history. Asians weren't allowed in gyms, and he got a lot of research help on that, and that's where the whole street thing started. So, before 9/11, to me it was almost like the public was they got shamed into giving you guys permits, So the big he said the first national tournament was 1944. And I can't say enough. The volleyball rules back then were brought to China. And when the Chinese emigrated to the United States, the rules were brought back to the United States. So a lot of these rules that you see in Chinese 9-man they're not new, people. These are old rules. And for the beach guys right now who, we're in the climate right now where everybody's worried about redirect being legal, about the set can't spin, or now spin is allowed, and now there's this argument. It's like, okay, the ball didn't spin, but dude, you just caught it and threw it. It's a carry. So in this thing, we're like, oh, I wish it was back to the old days and in the old days. And I think people just need to get over themselves, because volleyball, there's always going to be a generation that talks about the old days.
Yeah,
right.
It's always reminisce. And rekindle the stories like how we do all the time.
I go back as far back as blocking a serve. If you watch the '84 Olympics, I give you the third play for the goal, USA against Brazil. Craig Buck touch blocked the serve, and they played it off the touch block. And I'm just like, when he did it, I thought it was just a replay. I thought like someone blew the whistle, and you know how some players just play around and they touch it up, and then I'm like, pass said hit. What? What just happened? Question this year. What happened this year? Because I know you guys do nationals at Labor Day. At what point did you guys have a meeting and say it's not going to happen this year due to our let's just call it our climate, our literal climate with COVID and everything?
Yeah, I mean, usually, we have our New York Mini tournament in July. And that's usually like a smaller tournament of the nationals, and a lot of it was gauged off of that. And for me, organizing the Mini was pretty tough because everything started to unfold back in January, right? We didn't start really staying in until March. And we were hesitant to post anything, even for the national tournament committee. We were having meetings once a month to talk about it and like, what do we do? How do we anticipate it? Because everything you plan for, you organize for, you have to sign contracts before, hotels or rentals, or even for the banquet halls, you have to sign contracts. And, thank God for, there's clause and stuff like that. We didn't really make the call until June, I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but it was a big thing because we got on many calls, talked to the organizers, and just kind of like, what do we do? How do we go about it? But being that, it was supposed to be hosted by DC this year, they were well prepared, everything was set. They were ready just to open registration for teams to register. And then when this COVID hit, we were like, oh, wow, what do we do? Do we delay it? Do we push it back? Do we wait? And then also contractually with everything, you have to kind of go along with what the contract says too, hotels and rentals, space rentals. So, I mean, it was a huge disappointment when the mini was canceled, and then the nationals will, you got to make the right call, because you don't want to be the hosting city to be, hosting a tournament with a virus there's no vaccination for, right? And playing volleyball, like you said, it's a team effort. Everybody has to touch a ball, right? And then you're playing out on the street or public space. There's bound to be people coming to watch where, could bring the virus with them. Not to say, they will, but you just can't take that risk. So it was a tough call, but I think overall everybody understood, and everybody knows that it was the right thing to do. And, even major sports did it too, right?
Yeah.
If major sports were doing it, you have to follow suit.
It's true, and it's very, very hard to create a bubble with a sport that has multiple competitors. I bring your attention just to indoor sixes, never mind Chinese 9-men. I bring your attention to football that on the pro level is easier to do because they can afford to set up this environment where no one comes in and out. Basketball right now, they're in their playoffs. I mean, by the time this weekend's over, I think we're going to be watching the Clippers and Lakers play the Western Conference semifinals, and
I think so.
You have 354 players and 0 positive tests, so big up to them. The AVP couldn't afford to do a bubble like the NBA, but the AVP had a very mature group of elite athletes, and at the top of the main draw, the bottom of the main draw, and like some of the people who were in the qualifier on the outside looking in, which was negated because you had to consolidate the size. So when they weren't practicing with each other, they went straight home. That's all they did, So and if you watch it on Amazon Prime, they did it in the parking lot in Long Beach. And very genius part on either Jeff Conover or Donald Sun's part, they got a film permit to do it instead of a volleyball permit. So they got a film permit, and I'm just like, okay. So basically, you guys are actors, and like, I already know Phil Dahlhauser. I know Phil and Nick are gonna win. Then, right? It's in the script. It's in the script.
Oh man.
Yeah. Here's another cool question. There are a ton of differences. I acknowledge that between Chinese 9-men and beach volleyball. Doubles or whatever. Is there what would be a similarity that's comparable to the beach? And I guess that's for either one of us to answer, because I know I don't know if you get out on the sand very much. I know you play some grass and some outdoor, but.
Right.
Maybe you could chime in on this. Block for Chinese 9-men just does count as a hit.
Correct. It's at any time the ball opposing team hits the ball and it touches a block, it's considered a touch. So when it hits off the block, anybody in the back row or even in the front row has to set the ball for somebody to hit.
Let's
And
yeah, keep talking. I want to.
yeah.
I'm sure it's here somewhere. Not that one, but keep going.
Not that one. No,
Yeah.
that was no touch.
Yeah, so it's no touch. Go on, Denny. Sorry.
Yeah, so if at any point it touches the block, then it's considered a touch. Then the back row has the responsibility to really set the ball to the hitter. Now, if the ball hits the net, it counts as a neutral hit, and you get an extra touch per se.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it. And when you play 9-man, it's fast. The net is a little lower. It's almost like a woman's height. No piking is allowed, so you can't. Anytime any part of your hands break the plane of the net, it's called over, and the opposing team will get it.
I got to go back. There was a part on that tape. Sorry, Denny. There was a part on that tape that actually showed how it's neutral.
Right. So it's as a ref too, you have a lot of responsibility. You're looking for nets, over, and the ball hitting the net. That's another factor you have to look into. I mean, and a bigger court.
Oh my God! Here it is. Here's one play.
Yeah.
Here's one play. Watch this and watch the play off the net.
Boom. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's regular game. That's 4 touches, right? But because the net is a neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Neutral touch.
Yep.
They got that play. The play kept on going. So I mean, it's exciting. It's fast. I think once whoever watches it, whenever you go on to see a match, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, man. Here's another question. Men play Chinese 9-man in the tournaments. Women play 6s. Why?
It's just tough to find, I think, for women 9 players. And I think also I think Boston tried to kick it off to get 9 in the women's tournament going. Was at the time, I think there was only 2 teams. It was Boston and DC.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to put 2 teams together and just kind of showcase it. I don't think the interest is there yet, not yet at this point, but I think they're trying to kickstart that, 9-woman tournament, and hopefully, within a time, people will start practicing and playing for it. There's talks on the national level about having it or hosting it if there's enough interest, because since the men's are doing it, why not the women's? I mean,
yeah.
So, maybe, 5-10 years down the line, we'll have this kind of conversation. You'll see, oh, look how much it grew.
And for me, like, if it doesn't happen for nine women, that's cool, man. Some of the best 6s you're going to see. Some of the best. I mean, you want to talk about these awesome rallies, these scrap, hard hitting, just great digging, for these hard driven balls, the bringing back out of system to like back in system to hit. Some of these lemons in a lemonade competitive setting. I mean, I don't even know how to make this sound without just highlighting someone's ethnicity or whatever. You're not going to see too many great rallies outside of some of these Asian women's 6s tournaments. Stereotypically not very tall in height. So, but as you know, in volleyball, you don't have to be tall to hit like a brick house. You know what I'm saying? So the speed of the hit doesn't go away. So you have to find a way to either your blocking system to soft block it, or you just have to have girls that whole no fear attitude where they're ready to die. And man, some of these rallies are awesome.
It's intense. I mean, it gets the finals, and anytime you get to the playoffs, it's the play level for all the teams are pretty much very similar. There's no really it's exciting every match when you get to semis, quarters, and finals. And it's exciting, and every play level's very similar when you get towards the end, and that's what's fun about it. You don't get a blowout, let's just say. in any kind of tournament, at least not that I can remember.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, yeah, they're all like uber competitive. Actually, here's a picture of us playing in 1994. This is us playing Concordia, not a picture. Sorry, let's do that. Let's go to big screen. There it
Look
is.
at that, VHS.
Yeah, this is insane. Actually, let's go back. This is how big, Jesus Christ. I was 260 pounds in this. That's me hitting on the outside.
That's right.
And this is against Concordia, I believe. And there's Ningbin Zhao. There's Justin Stack. Very hard to see, very old picture, but just wanted to share that, whatever. And for the people watching, because again, both of us have a huge following, so as mutual friends, you're definitely going to have a lot of people tune in on this. And here is the picture, our championship picture.
Oh yeah.
That's the medal. This is from 1994. Let's zoom in. And there you are, Danny Moore, right there. There's me. I'm 255 pounds in this picture. They called me the Moose. And you know the crazy thing is, you guys are fresh out of high school, so you guys are really rail skinny. Like, look how skinny you are here. Look at Justin Stack. He's skinny as hell. That's Justin.
Right.
That's Meng Young Mei, for everybody who won. Who was runner-up for something called the Iron Horse Award. That goes to the best high school player in New York City. So,
remember who was first?
Mike Salick.
That's right.
Mike Salick got first. So that's a hell of a person to be runner-up too, because Mike Salick has been regarded as one of the best players in New York City for almost a decade. There's Elvis Rodriguez. There's before his time, there's Carlito and those guys. That's Bill Anderson. He later went to IPFW. This is I think Ball's assistant. Subash. There's our setter and my high school teammate.
That's right.
Ningbin Zhao.
Or Danny.
Yeah, Danny Zhao. Danny Zhao, that's right. So once I found that his name was Ningbin, I stopped calling him Danny. It just seemed more affectionate. And it's, to me, as long as I felt like I said it right, I felt like it was more like a brotherhood if I just called him.
Yeah.
The
brotherhood. Yeah.
Like Clement, I never called him Yip. I just called him Clement. David May, I just called him David. But it was, because Danny was my high school rivalry. Danny was one of the people that helped me conquer some of my prejudices against Chinese people. Because in high school volleyball in New York is highly dominated by Asians. If you look at Staten Island Tech, you look at half the teams in Queens, Cardozo, Hunter High School, a high Asian population.
Right.
They were not very inclusive to people who played the sport well. And back then, I wasn't even that good a player. So, but there's something about getting good, and then you have to play someone, and if you beat them, then we get to talking, or even if you don't beat them, let's say you lose by 2 points. Now all of a sudden, the next time you see each other, there's a conversation. So he was kind of like my just introducing me to other Asian players. And then, of course, when I got back from Germany, I believe 5 players on our team were not just Asian, they were Chinese. Clement's Chinese, right? Well, Justin Stack, if you include him, Asian, that's 5. That's the 5th.
Yeah.
Very, very, and the people that were practice players. You look at Cohen Ung, right, who played on the team a year later. Look at this guy named Kevin, heavyset guy. We had great practice players as well. Wayne, not Wayne Chow, the other Wayne, short Wayne, Central Park Wayne. I forget his name.
Yeah, Wayne. I think Chow too, right?
Yeah, and there was a
lefty.
Yeah, yep. Lefty. That's right. Baruch was our rival. Baruch had a lot of people who are highly involved with Chinese 9-man right now. I'm going to keep saying you guys like I'm a damn racist, but you guys don't get older. Look at you right now. Show me some ID, dude. You're 40? 40 what?
You see my receding hairline, dude?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, come on. You always had that. You just had more hair.
I'm developing my COVID bod.
Yeah, one of my guys said it definitely needs now more than ever more airtime. Chinese 9-man, and I agree. Today is 9/11. I swear to you, I didn't pick this day, and it has no special significance in regards to our connection. But Every New Yorker has a story. So and because this is no longer a volleyball podcast, it started as a volleyball podcast, and my guests are still volleyball players, but it's grown legs of its own.
Yeah.
So let's veer away from volleyball a little bit, or see if it's related to volleyball. Do you have a particular story of 911? No, 9/11. Where were you? 9/11.
9/11. I was heading to work. I remember that day like it was there. Like I was heading to work. I was in the Fox 5 news building, and when I went in waiting for the elevator, on the TV, the first Trade Center was hit. And I was like, what's going on? I thought maybe it was something else.
You thought someone couldn't fly?
Yeah, or something. Or,
Yeah.
it was just it was just a picture with no voice, right? No sound, no nothing. So we're all like, what's going on? When I finally got up to my floor, and they're like, oh, you hear, one of the World Trade got hit. And then 15 minutes later, or 5 minutes later, the second building got hit. And then 15 minutes later, my manager was like, you got to go home. And, within that 20, 30-minute span of arriving to work, it was like, well, what the hell's going on? Like it was all shock. And I was on 49th Street and 6th Avenue, and phones weren't working, only Nextel, or at that time I had a Nextel, if that's still a thing. And that was working for me, but I couldn't call anybody else because all the phone lines were all busy. Everybody's trying to make phone calls. And I walked down with a coworker, and it took me about 2 or 3 hours to walk from 49th to the Village. And it was
Surreal.
one of the scariest time. No, yeah, I was 20 something, and didn't know what to think. Like, didn't think anything like this would ever happen to us. And it was, what the hell? Like, and it was scary. And I think it's something that is going to always be in the back of your mind when anybody just mentioned 9/11 or calling 911, or even talking about it, remembering, never forget, stuff like that. It's always going to trigger something. Everybody has their own story. Everybody's around or even in that building at that time. So that's the scary moment. And and like all platforms such as Facebook, they'll always bring a memory like this, and you'll never forget it. And it's something that really grew New York really strong. It all came together, and yeah, it was one of those things that really kind of mature you really fast. Let's just say that. There was no joking
act
matter.
like a grown-up really quick, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was just, it's not like it's no joking matter. And yeah.
Well, in real time, I was on my way to work. I was a little bit late. I was working in a cardiology practice for this guy who was kind of the doctor of the stars. God rest his soul, he passed away last year.
Mm-hmm.
He at the time we were merging, our private practice was merging with the medical college. So there were so many questions of salaries, benefits, and then all of a sudden we have to have a time clock and, like one of those punch cards. So there was a lot of disgruntled and infighting, and just a lot of nervous tension. And it always seemed like at this time we were at each other's throat. People just weren't sure if they're going to have a job. So I go to work and I'm a little bit late, and I see Diane, our secretary. She's crying, and I don't think she's crying for something important. I just think that the pressure of like, oh my God, some drama shit, here we go again.
Yeah.
What, you see her and you're like, now what? Right now what? And then she said someone hit a plane crash into the World Trade Center, and I said, okay. And I said, someone can't freaking fly a plane. Because I think prior to there was a New York Yankee that crashed into a building with a smaller plane on the Upper East Side.
Right.
And thank God no one got killed. That was crazy.
Right.
Just, you want to talk about freaky, like how that could have claimed a lot of lives, but that didn't. So I'm just like, we just giving pilot's license to everybody. They're just crashing into buildings now. And that was my first reaction. And then this, ladies and gentlemen listening, there's no internet back then. So you can't be like, oh, let me check my phone. Oh, let me see if there's footage. You are in your office. You don't have no one has a TV in their office. You have a radio in your office, maybe, like if someone in the back has a radio in the back and they like to listen to music while they're working. Now all of a sudden, everyone's in the same room and they're listening to 10-10 wins. 10-10 wins. Give us 22 minutes. We'll give you the world.
We'll give you the world.
Now we're all just trying to listen, trying to whatever. And so far, 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, I'm still not thinking anything. And I'm like, I'm late. I got work to do. Let me just go to work. So you guys sit here or whatever. And then Diane runs out and she says, another plane hit. And I went, it's a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
It's a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And we go outside and we're on Lexington, 72nd Street between Lexington and Park. Mm-hmm. So we tried, some of us walked to Fifth Avenue, like Central Park East or whatever, if you will, unaffectionately known as, to see if we could see a straight shot. And we can see smoke. We can see smoke from there. And we're like, holy shit. And one of the other doctors is like, maybe we just start canceling all of our patients. We got a pharmaceutical rep is like, do I even ask the doctor for a signature or do I just get the hell out? And we leave and the other doctor, Dr. Holly Anderson, just goes back to Weill Cornell because we don't know how much traffic injuries will be steered our way, and there wasn't a lot of injuries because there were, and that with that kind of accident, Danny, right? There's no injuries. That's you live or you die,
right.
So, and then later on, a plane just hit the Pentagon. I'm like, wait, what?
What's happening?
What the actual freak? So all the trains got shut down. I was living in Queens at the time, so me and Lauren Katchia, who was later the head coach at Hunter College. She was coaching the women's and men's team. Her and I decided to walk together over the bridge, Queens Bridge, or whatever it's called now, RFK or whatever, the 59th Street Bridge. And from the 59th Street Bridge, it's an HD. It's an HD. You could see it all. My ex-wife was supposed to work in the building that day, or it was either her brother or her new boyfriend, doesn't matter. They were going down together and he was late. And because he was late, he was okay.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the stigma that attached me. I mean, for me, what attached me, and this is volleyball related, I was the head coach of City Tech at the time. Chi DiMaggio, if you remember Chi. Remember Chi? She was the head coach. Yeah. She left. Chi. She left and the job fell in my lap. So I won't say the player's full name. Her name is Karine. And for everybody listening, bear with me. I like to talk, but this is where 9/11 stayed with me forever. She made a decision to play NCAA volleyball for me. She's an outside hitter. She's from Jamaica. Her mom is very strict, and you know about strict moms. Like if you're in school, you're not playing sports all of your time. You're not there to play a sport. Do you get a scholarship? No, it's Division III. What? No, no, you're not. You're going to go to school full time. You're not playing volleyball. She fought her mom tooth and nail until her mom gave in, until she finally played the sport. That night, we were supposed to play Baruch. She's on the train from Queens. Her and her mom. Her mom has a full-time job at the World Trade Center. She has a part-time job at the World Trade Center. Somewhere on 34th Street or West 4th Street, just before they hit the World Trade Center, she forgot her sneakers. She's like, I got to go back home and get my sneakers. We're playing Baruch College tonight. She gets off the train. She goes back home to get her sneakers and lives.
Wow.
Now, I want that to resonate with everybody. I'm going to say that again. She's on her way to work. 8 o'clock, 8:30. She forgets her sneakers. She gets on a train to go back home and lives.
Right. That's awesome.
Basic mathematics says she lived, her mom didn't. So indirectly, and I wouldn't dare make this about me, but I always have this eerie feeling her decision to play volleyball for me in some weird way saved her life.
Mm-hmm. Her passion, her love for volleyball.
Saved her life.
Mm-hmm.
If her mom won that argument, she wouldn't be allowed to listen to this conversation right now. I saw her at a party like later on because, the Caribbean crowd is very, very, it's as incestuous as the Chinese are. They play volleyball. They stick with their own. A lot of them end up being players for their national team. Just awesome. So I see her at a party and we hug each other and we sit next to each other and we don't talk about 9/11. We don't talk about her mother. We talk, but the stigma or this unsaid conversation or this psychic rapport between me and her, even now, just talking about it remains to be redundant, visibly or omnipresent. It's always there. It's all knowing. It's all powerful, and it's there. And I went to a party with her, and I saw her at another party, and we just had this look, and we just kind of, what's good,
Yeah.
what's good, and that's the haunting thing, the story that I have from 9/11. And, I feel my heart, and I speak for Danny, I speak for you as well. And please interrupt me and chime in at any point, like if there's a story kind of related to that, to volleyball. But our hearts go out to anyone who lost anyone that day. We know the special significance. Our hearts go out to Port Authority Police. Our hearts go out to the New York Police Department. Our heart goes to the Fire Department in New York. Asians, Black people, Caribbean people, Italian people, Irish people, Catholics, born-again Christians, Jews, Muslims. People of all religions took a hit on this. People of all ethnicities took a hit on this. This is New York City, people. It is the great American melting pot. It wasn't a bunch of white guys that got hit in this building. It wasn't a bunch of devout Catholics on their way back from church or from confession that got hit. We all took this hit from a bunch of radical animals.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you man, did I hope I didn't somber the mood, Jesus. I guess I'll just revert back to the questions so we can kind of stay somewhere on some kind of topic. Do you find yourself a role model through volleyball in some point? Do like people the generation after you, do they emulate your game, or do you find yourself being a role model, just your conduct and on and off the court and the way you play? Because there is this period where like I talked to Chinese people that didn't know me and I just say Danny Moy and their mouths would drop. Wait, Danny Moy? So that was like, dude, that was like going to Mexico and saying cerveza. So I guess the fan question is, did you find yourself a role model for some of the teenagers coming up?
I mean, I hope I am in some ways. I mean, I try to be humble for who I am and what I've turned out to be. I hope whatever I do and how I do it will set some kind of tone for those kids who wants to learn volleyball. 9 men, not 9 men related. I've been, you know me for a long time. I've been very humble. I just play the game. I play my heart out, and I don't. Take credit
you don't read the reviews.
Yeah, I don't. And anytime I'm in a game, I do my best. I'm not out there to lose, and I want to have fun too at the same time. So, and I think if my action speaks louder than my voice, and kids really resonate from the actions, then I've done something. May not be they're not going to tell me directly, but if it helps them in some ways somehow, and I feel like it's priceless. It's that's what you're here to do. You're here to mentor, especially for my club. Just trying to help kids play volleyball and learn how to play volleyball, but also be sportsmanship, teammates, and also learn to respect each other, like, respect their time too, like you said, and we're all here for it. We're here, you and I and everybody else who's probably listening are here listening, watching us because one common ground which is volleyball. And then with the 6 degrees, it'll branch out to urban, big city, beach, grass, anything. I mean, if you, like you said, you mentioned the name, and some people it's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know them. It's going to be like a big tree, a family tree for all of us. So mentoring, I don't, like to really, I don't talk about it. I just hope people will see what I do and how I do it, and it will take something, because everybody will learn different ways. They'll learn something from you, they'll learn something from me, and then whatever they take from both of us and add it to their part of their life for, whatever, either personality or either, volleyball skills. And, hopefully whatever we do will have some kind of effect on their lives, and
Yeah.
they won't tell us, but, if it's something that's helped them along the way, I've done my job, or we've done our job.
Yeah.
I think that's, so I don't think, I try to be a role model, or I try to take the spotlight to tell everybody, or the kids out there, or whoever, watches our game or our tournament or anything. So I'm grateful. We had a good run, and now, what we do is we try to pay it forward, and, I think it's a great thing. And, I think a lot of it, if the foundation and platform was set earlier, the game would be a lot bigger. And this may be a starting point for all of us too, especially like Nyman with the documentary and all that stuff.
No doubt. Actually, you mentioned New York Urban. I want to zip on a picture. New York Urban basically started as a league for the people at home, for working professionals, and it drew like this conglomerate of former college players from D1, D2, D3 schools, and their Division I men's and the Division I women's has become this league that people who used to play or still play professionally. It's crazy. Yeah. But the co-ed league was back then was where the money was.
Right.
There was one season where they offered $2,000 for the championship, and I bring everybody's attention to that. It was offered one time. It was a one-off. There's a volleyball in the air for anybody wanting to see my command center. That volleyball, yes, is in the air, suspended. But there's the 1-in-1 right there.
That's right.
That was the team we were on that had Greg Romulus, you, me, Bernard Norman.
Burn. Feel the burn.
Yeah, Wana Wu was setting. Remember Mavi. And at the time, you didn't have a good blocking day. And Match Point was their best hitter against our at that day. You are our worst blocker, and you got caught, Ruth Wong, on a back set. It was just 1-on-1, and nobody could get there, and we were just bracing for Angel to just blow us up. And you blocked Angel Match Point, and I was like, oh my God, yes! Give me my money.
Show me the money.
So, wow, what's up, Tony Fu? Someone's posting. A whole bunch of people are posting. Yeah, Josh Jamrock says, "Moi."
Shout out from Hawaii.
Yeah, no doubt. Big up to him. I met he's one of the people that got me some pickup games out here. He lived in South Bay first. He lived in Torrance, California, which is a neighboring zip code for Hermosa Beach. So,
I think Clement is out there too.
Is he? Tell him to come see me. Tell him to message me or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, when you guys came out for American Sports Center, Brendan Fang stayed at the house for a couple of days before he got the hotel because he wanted to, whatever. And Brendan Fang's another one of those guys. I think when he turns 40, I'm gonna have the same conversation I had with you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's such a bright. You want to talk about one of the sharpest minds you ever meet, and just being impressed on just how this guy's mind works. I really like Brendan Fang.
Yeah.
So we were talking about role models before, and me over the years, because I got involved in just media, color commentary, and because I became this coaching. Before I left, took New York as far as I could go.
Yeah.
I 3 NCAA teams. I made them all better. Baruch was like ranked 7th, and now they're like this powerhouse. Me and Justin rebuilt that, so Justin gives me a lot of credit, and I'll take it. But the podcast has gotten some blowback because sometimes my use of language, people are like, "Oh, you're supposed to be a role model for kids. You shouldn't curse in your podcast and this and that." And I think for me, role model is a tricky thing. Like, I'll be a role model through volleyball. I want them to be good color commentators. I want them to be good volleyball players. I want them to be coaches who care, like you and me. We personalize our work. When we leave, we still think about the game. We don't leave it on the court. And sometimes when you lose, it hurts. Losing hurts. So the more you're into it, Danny, right, the more you personalize the work. So I think I tell my critics, I want them to see the role model on that, because, they're like, do you want your kids to curse? And I'm like, no, but I don't want my kids to drink alcohol either. I don't want my kids to join the military. The kids who look up, I don't want you joining the military. Do something else. I definitely don't want them to study theater performance or acting in college. Okay, it's the worst degree you're going to have. So if they're looking for a role model or someone to look up to, like you said, sometimes the best way to be a role model is to not read the reviews. Just keep your nose in your work and play, and whatever comes out of it, the fruition of your labor is what you want kids to look at. And the reason why I brought this up, Danny, is because they think these days people think in order to be a role model, you have to be this great guy or to be president or whatever, or if someone's voting for you, you have to be this American hero. No, dude, just be a decent human being. Like you said, just be a decent human being.
Right.
So
that's it. Just be yourself, and whatever I learn from you, you learn from me.
Yeah. Because I'm definitely not a role model, dude. I mean, not in that respect. I'm not. I don't want people to study theater.
Bad model.
No. I mean,
right. So whoever is watching will take a bit and pieces from you and me, and hopefully it will apply it to their lives and grow from there, right?
Yep.
And I think that's all we can ask for. And that's I think I always say too much is that I try to be humble whatever I do, even with my friends and family. And especially, running tournaments too at the same time. We're here for one reason, and, we should be grateful, because without this platform, you and I wouldn't be here 20, 25 years later. We wouldn't be talking. We wouldn't reminisce all the stuff we had, the good times, the bad times, and in any sports, just not volleyball.
And isn't it great that your intention is to win games and to play and to play well, but what sprinkles out of it as far as net results, this fellowship.
Yeah.
This fellowship that is irreplaceable. Like the people in South Bay who grow up together, go play high school volleyball together, or just play Manhattan Sixes, this fellowship. They come in generations that people reminisce or whatever. The fellowship that we've gained is that there's this 5-year or decade or whatever that's irreplaceable. Like my fellowship with Central Park people, the time period basically from 1995 to 2005. Ren Osborne, anyone whose first name is Josh, anyone whose last name is Moy or Chang, or Chow, right? So that fellowship and just reminiscing is irreplaceable, and God,
it's priceless.
It's timeless. It's almost like frozen in time. And it's so cool because I move out here, and it's all the same, as far as that fellowship and like something being timeless and people just drinking and reflecting on some of these things, and wow. Ryan is asking, did you graduate with Greg? The answer, if it's college, Ryan, the answer is no. You can answer that, right? You were a freshman?
I was a freshman.
And Greg was a senior. We're talking about Greg Romulus, who was our All-American candidate, who I understand out of his family was the runt of the litter, but I couldn't disagree more because there's talent and there's what you do with the talent. And Greg, Rudy Romulus, who played for NJIT, they said was the best player, but if it's all about them numbers or and about leadership, I got to go with Greg.
Yeah.
So
maybe a little biased.
yeah.
But,
Was there another
that's
Greg?
fair.
There wasn't another Greg, right, in high school or whatever, at Humanities.
Not that I remember.
No. Okay.
Mm.
Cool, man. That's Ryan. And he tags Tony Fu. He wants to make sure Tony Fu saw this. The other question was, was Tony Fu playing at Baruch when we were playing at Hunter?
He was
Talk
playing
about
at
how
Baruch.
old is Tony Fu?
Tony is a year older than me. Yeah, he was at Baruch.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. You Asians. I'm gonna say you Asians this, you Asians that, you Asians this, you Asians that. I'm gonna get flagged for racism. I'm gonna get flagged for being a bigot. He is a year apart from you, which I mean you already is bad enough.
I'm up there.
Yeah.
We're up there. Yeah.
Well, a little bit rubbed off. I'm 50. I think I'm doing all right too. So but yeah, Ryan, to answer your question, and I swear to God, I'm trying to get Danny to talk more than me. Romulus was a senior, and you were a freshman, and you
Right.
stayed another year.
I did.
And it goes on
Played
the
2
record
years.
books. Check this out: Hunter College, 5-20, CUNY champions. that was, but. It was a testament to the schedule we had outside of the CUNY conference. Mm-hmm. Again, back then, guys, CUNY only had 4 teams, maybe 5.
Yeah.
I think John Jay is the 5th. So if we weren't good, the only place we were going to get wins were in our division. And if you only have 4 teams, that's a total of 6 matches. So the year before, our freshman year was our campaign year. We were 18-10. We beat Concordia, a big Division II powerhouse back then. We beat Queens College. Carlito, Southampton. We went to 4 twice. I think we won 1, lost 1. We might have lost twice. I don't remember. We beat New Paltz twice and JIT. So had Tariq. We couldn't beat Vassar.
Yeah,
Vassar was
Rogers.
just too good,
Right.
man.
Right.
Vassar was 16-14, 16-14, and then after that, the smart kids cracked the code and they beat us 15 like really bad. But
They figured us out.
yeah, but 16-14 against a team that made the EIVA finals. Which now remains the only Division III team to make the EIVA finals, losing to Penn State, who won the whole thing. That's a testament to our competitive nature.
Right.
We weren't tall, right? All of us were the same height across the board, 6'1", 6'2". We weren't stuffing anybody either. We would just get touch blocks, run it down, set outside, high 4-ball to our star hitter.
Yeah.
He gets blocked, cover. Set him.
Yep,
he
that's
gets
it.
blocked. Cover. Set him.
Do it all
kill.
over again. Yeah.
Rinse. Repeat.
Yeah. Rinse and repeat.
We called it death of 1,000 cuts. Because back then it was side out, right? And if you
Right.
had a team like us that can go all day, sooner or later, we're gonna get you. And
Right.
I can't emphasize on enough. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm talking about myself because I wasn't even the 3rd best player on that team. And I just came back from overseas. So that tells you, I was chopping down trees, dude. So that's a testament to how good that team was. Or no, I was the 3rd best player, probably. I think it's like Greg and then David May and then maybe me. Zhao wasn't even a setter back then. He just had to set, He turned into a setter.
Right.
Mang was actually running the 6'2" at Seward Park. He came in with more setting experience than Zhao did. So
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So how old's your kid?
My oldest one is 10, Brendan, and young one just turned 9, Tyler. So they're keeping me busy, man. Just like your little one. It's a handful.
My God, if you can reminisce back to when your kid was 3, or what they call terrible 2s.
Terrible 2s,
Yeah.
terrible 3s, fearless 4s. It just keeps on going.
Ryan Alamansi said, as I mentioned, Ryan, I don't even think you were a part of that team in '94. Was he? No. So here's mine actually. That's mine right there.
Yeah.
Playing Jenga and figuring stuff out with mommy.
Yeah.
I stay away from her as far as I can with academic stuff. I defer to the girl with the Harvard education. Okay,
Oh,
I ended up graduating Marymount Manhattan. Okay, that's theater performance. She wants to do that. I'll be her daddy again. But so you got one that's
I'll be the
10.
spoiler. You'll
Yeah.
spoil her,
Are your
and
kids
you'll
playing?
defer. Yeah. I started them when they were about 4 or 5, and knowing how to, touch, pass, set a ball. So they're pretty they're pretty into it. But with this COVID, we just kind of bump within our home and set the ball, and we were doing clinics up until the COVID time, so they were participating in it. So too, so that was fun. It's great to see your kids follow your footstep if they do follow.
Yeah.
It may be like Tiger Dad, you got to do what Daddy says, but hopefully they'll have the same passion as we did, and get better.
Cool. So yeah, Ryan played for York. That's where I remember now. It came back to me. He played for York College, who was, I guess that 2 year period was our conference rival. I thought, they ended up winning after you left. So I mean, they had three shots at that CUNY apple. So now it's all coming back to me now. And there was definitely, you beat them in 5 in the CUNY finals in '95, and that's how that happened. I remember York. That was a true rivalry back then. York and Hunter. That was 5 sets. '94, we didn't. No, I don't even think we. I think we were yawning in the middle of that semis and finals. There wasn't a whole lot of. I mean, it was the end of the season. We had our stuff together. So I mean, and we weren't even thinking about it. We were like, can we get invited to the EIVA? Did we go to the
Right.
NCAA tournament? Did we?
That was the talk.
Was losing a Vassar at the end? Was that going to hurt us? NJIT, we lost 2-4. We beat them the first set. Because they had subs in, and
Yeah, they did.
yeah,
Yeah.
we sent a message. Don't send boys to do a man's job. So they won the next
Right.
3. But we
Right.
were like, is losing the NJIT and Vassar going to hurt our chances of getting to the dance? And then we got the letter. Found out we qualified, and I was like so happy.
Good times.
Yeah, great times.
Good memories. Yeah, definitely.
So it was really, before I go, it was really cool running into you a couple of years ago before I moved out here. We're in Central Prospect Park. Big up to our crew, right? Prospect Park, Grass Court, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And your wife comes up, didn't even know her, you were married to her, and she's like, do you and Kelly want to play a co-ed against me and my husband? I'm like, sure. And she's like, cool, let me introduce him. And I'm like, and you're like, Mr. DeVilius. And I said, it's Danny Moy. And I'm like, Kelly, I got someone I want you to meet. This is my college.
Yeah.
This is my college buddy. So it was really good seeing you at that time. And I hope nothing's changed. I hope you guys, are still doing your thing. And I wish you and your family the best in these very trying times. For a long time, New York City was ground zero, right? But it seems, I don't know if there is a level of what the word normal means, but tell me, has it returned to some level of normalcy, or is there some kind of activities where it feels like it's normal again?
I mean, activity-wise in volleyball, it's risky at this point. I mean, we haven't done anything, from an organizational standpoint. We haven't done anything to really risk anything. But New York City itself, I feel like it's slowly getting back to normal. For a long time, New York City bus was free up until September 1st. So now we're going back to the MetroCard days. You have to pay, and traffic.
Were the trains shut down?
Huh?
Were the trains shut down?
No, they were still up.
Okay.
They were still up. A period of time, they were cleaning the trains from 1 to 5 in the morning, so they were shut down in that sense for cleaning. But like in terms of, for me, my job, I have to go. I go in to work twice a month, and those times where the traffics are terrible. So it's during a time when it was like everybody just unknown of what this virus could do to us. You could fly through traffic lights like nothing. Go to get to work within half the time.
You're
that
like, I
you
never
were
thought
stuck
I'd
in
see the
traffic.
day.
Right. Like, where are the people? It's just the weekend. But now, people are out on the street, out and about. New York City just announced 25% indoor seating, so it's a good thing. and we're just gonna have to, together we have to fight it through. All of us. And I know out there, the forest fires are, very intense.
Yeah.
And,
Every
ashy.
well, the ash has made it all the way to the South Bay. We have all of the cars. I wake up one morning, I go outside and I look at the cars parked on the side street, and I'm like, they're just, wow, it's out there like white. Kind of a watered down 9/11, and that's what made me even bring up 9/11. You see some of these cars that have ash on it, and and of course we pray for the families and property. Look, property. At the end of the day, property is property. Material things are material things. You just want people to be safe. We just want people to live, and we don't want people to lose too much of their property where their quality of life messes with the sanctity of life as far as their psychology and their mental toughness is concerned. So yeah. Well, shit, that's all I got, man. You anything you want? Is there a website that people can learn more about Chinese nine men? First, plug in the documentary, what it's called.
Yeah, there's a 9-man doc by Ursula Yang, and she's took a lot of years to put that together, and you can see, the history, how it began, interviews, tournaments, and stuff. Also, YouTube. There's a lot of videos. I'm sure you've seen a few. And then, there's NACIVT.com. It's the tournament website that you could get information. Next year, we don't know who's going to host yet. We don't know if DC is going to be pushed back, or if DC is going to skip a year, it might be San Fran. San Francisco is due to host next year. After San Fran is actually New York. So we don't know yet. It's up in the air. A lot of talks amongst the board members because, we don't know what's next year going to bring us or anybody. Yeah. Like you said, what is the normal? When do we go back to normal? Can we go back to normal? Those are the questions for everybody. And I don't think there is any answer yet until there's some kind of cure or vaccination. So
yeah.
But
vaccine is moving faster than everyone thinks. I have an insider who was actually great on the podcast, and her job is basically to help companies and pharmaceutical companies approve medications and vaccinations for the FDA. So, like, just the procedure on how to. They basically, you hire a company like this. I want something approved by the FDA. Walk me through it. So, yeah, she's also a lab rat too. She was a medical laboratory sciences, for undergrad and sciences, and for her master's. So she was part of the phase 1 team for Ebola. So she's some of the best work. She told me it's some of the best work she's ever done in her career, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what you think. Boy, do we have something for you right now. So
oh boy, yeah.
So,
I mean.
New York has done a good job with testing, right? Testing kits.
Oh yeah, it's available, free for everybody.
California sucks right now, dude.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I've heard. Is the number still going up and all that?
Well, the numbers are fluctuating, but that's not as important as availability of the test kits. I think at this point, there shouldn't be a tier of people where a priority. If you don't have enough, I understand where priority takes place, but we are months and months in, and we're the most industrialized nation in the world. It is inexcusable for everyone to not get tested, especially if they're out there scaring the hell out of us, saying, well, you can have no symptoms and still have it. You can have, you can be asymptomatic and still have it. So you never know. You never know. Well, can I get tested? Well, no. Do you have a fever? No. Do you have a cough or no? Are you short of breath? No. Then you can't get tested. I'm like, but you just told me I can have none of those things and still have it. Right. So there's this level of frustration, and of course, I don't want to mention the P word, politics. Sooner or later, Democrips and Republicans get into it about whose fault it is, and I don't give a damn whose fault it is, because more than anybody, finger pointing doesn't. When the finger pointing is done, you still have to have a solution. What do we do? So glad I checked with Zacharias. Zach told me like the same thing you said. They're testing everybody, and they have enough testing kits. And but you agree, right? At this point, it's especially if they want people to pay for a vaccine. You want people to pay for a vaccine, but you don't want people to get tested. Come on, now.
Right?
You have to. No, I'm not going with that one. So,
man,
not ending on a bad note. What else do you want to plug for a 9-man? Is there a site, like a particular site or whatever?
No, just NACIVT.com. We also, the tournament we host in July is nymini.com. So hopefully those sites will get updated shortly. It's pretty much hasn't been updated. And then, my personal Strangers Club, nystrangers.org, the nonprofit I've been running since the beginning. So, any information, you can look that up.
Yeah.
And, there's also emails, any interests or, definitely hit me up. I'm always out there, I always make time for you and,
No, man.
I will do it for everybody else.
It's long overdue, man. I would also like to apologize to like anyone that I've seeped my bitterness at, like in the 90s and compete. Cause I was a pretty highly emotional player, and if I'd win, I'd stuck it to him. If I lost, sometimes I was a sore loser, but I think honestly, I'm not bigoted or racist, but I think a lot of it came from me not being included in the community. There was a kind of a resentment that I had to deal with. And Justin did too. Justin's half Vietnamese, half Irish, and he had to deal with the lack of inclusion as well. But to some of the people who I may have offended, I just want to let you know I'm not that person anymore. Everything else is still the same. So if you probably didn't like me before, you're probably still not gonna like me. But so much about me has changed. Just understanding people and like us, right? It's an evolution. It's an evolution. Yeah. We evolve. We see the errors of our way, and we try to self-improve. And for the people like you and everybody else that got it right, you just try to make sure you have the power to forgive, because it's really, it's in this cancel culture, it seems like the hardest thing in the world to do. It's like if no one forgives, who the hell's going to say sorry, right? If you run a stop sign and the penalty's death, who's going to admit that they ran a stop sign? Nobody. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, it's all about respect. And I think, we all have a mutual respect for each other. And, that's how we move forward. If you don't, then grudges are held, and, you're going to always hold on to it and never move on with life. And is it worth it? 10, 20 years, 30 years down the line, hold that grudge? Come on now.
Yeah, not if they want to look young like you. Right? You're like, Jason, you want to know what the Asian secret is? We don't hold a grudge. All right, I guess that's all I got. So, ladies and gentlemen, everybody listening, Denny Moy might love you, but me, I had enough of you, okay? So for everybody at home, stay after this. I'm going to run my credits, but stay after the podcast.
All right.
For everybody at home, for all of you watching on your desktop, who runs the world? Old school, old school. For all of you on your iPad, for all of you on your iPhone, on the lunch line or on the dinner line waiting to get some dinner, for all of you on your Droid, for Danny Moore, my man from Strangers, former Hunter College alum, I am Jason DeBeas, and we say, we're out. Of course, I don't do this. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify, and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.